will think. Look at this over here. Think. 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 Yes. Woo! That is what I'm talking about. Today's topic. Again, early stages of psychology. We're in the early psychology. We'll call it part 2. Yesterday we talked about the ancient Greeks. Today, the Enlightenment thinkers. I might need to lose some weight. I'm a little out of breath after that. The Enlightenment thinkers, right? What do these guys do? They thought. And the realizations that they had, right, way back in this time period of like the 1500s through 1800, the realizations that they had really laid the groundwork for a lot of modern psychology. So yesterday we talked about how the ancient Greeks, pretty impressive, right? 2,500 years ago, they laid some groundwork, some early thinking, and some ideas that would lay the groundwork for psychology. Same with these Enlightenment thinkers. We are going back 500 years, and they had some realizations that still have an impact on modern psychology today. Let's take a look at my man, René Descartes. You want to see a mustache, kid? You want to see a mustache? René Descartes had a killer mustache. Check this mustache out. I mean, you won't even believe it. I gotta shrink this down a little bit. Come over here. Oh, look at René. Oh my God. Look at this guy. He looks like he should be playing hockey out up there in Canada somewhere, eh? He's an unbelievable mustache on René Descartes. Whew. Get back over to the presentation mode. Amplify it. All right. René Descartes' sort of addition to modern day psychology stems from probably his most famous quote, "I think, therefore I am." I think, therefore I am. What he was trying to do was prove that he was alive, right? That this wasn't just a dream, that this is reality, and that he wasn't living as a part of somebody else's dream, and that everything that happening around him was in fact real and occurring. And what I think, therefore I am really gets to the heart of the matter of is that doubt, right? Even his thought, well, geez, maybe this is just somebody else's dream that I'm a part of. His thought, that doubt, is part of the human experience. Now, how does that impact psychology, right? Because psychology is really the study of human thought and human behavior, the totality of the human mind, right? That's how we defined it when we started the year. And so this doubt is really part of that thought process. It is natural to doubt, and then thinking through that doubt proves, right, that thinking, that cognition actually proves that you are real. Now, what Descartes did with this sort of thought process, these ideas, is he developed this concept of dualism. Of course, dualism, if I break the word down a little bit, I see that. And again, please, if it's on the board, it goes in your notes. I know I've said it a million times. Sometimes I put the notes on the board in advance. Don't write ahead, right? Put the notes in your notes as I talk about them. We are going to learn when we actually learn about learning. That's a weird one, right? We're going to learn about learning in psychology. When we learn about learning, we will find that writing the notes as I am speaking about those notes will actually create better memory recall in your brain. And we'll cover how the brain works and the psychology of learning in future units. So as I talk through the notes, that's when you should be putting them in your notebook. And don't just like press pause and copy them all over and then listen to me, right? That actually is counterproductive, but we'll get to that in a few units. If I take a look at this word dualism, I see that term dual, which means two, right? And dualism is the idea that there's really like two distinct worlds that we live in. The first is the physical world. We'll call this our environment, right? Our natural sort of environment around us. And the other world is this mental world, right? Where we have thoughts in our head that are really don't exist out here in the real physical world. Now, Descartes was actually kind of being clever here. The Catholic Church, which you should remember from your 10th grade history course, was actually really, really large and in charge and basically ran society at the time period that a lot of these Enlightenment thinkers lived. The Catholic Church did not like it when people taught against what the Catholic Church was teaching. And so a lot of scientists, a lot of philosophers and scientists, what they endured during this Enlightenment time period was the church could actually find them guilty of a crime called heresy, where you're speaking out against what the church was teaching. Dualism, that clever Descartes, dualism sort of solved that problem, because now a scientist could question what was going on in the physical world. Gravity, planets, the heliocentric theory, right? A scientist could have thoughts about the physical world, but those thoughts, right, could exist only in the mental world, right? I'm having mental world thoughts about the physical world, and so I'm not really a heretic. In my heart, in my mind, I believe in what the church is teaching, right? But in my observations of the physical world, I have these other thoughts too. And so it was kind of Descartes' clever way of getting out of staying away from the charge of being a heretic by the Catholic Church. But nonetheless, a massive, massive impact on modern psychology, where we still sort of explore the connection between our minds and what goes on in the mental world and how that translates out to our physical world through behavior and actions. Okay? I'm sure we have all thought a lot of things without making those thoughts become part of our physical world. Okay, and that happens probably on a regular basis. All right, moving on. Our next Enlightenment philosopher we want to examine is Thomas Hobbes. Now, Thomas Hobbes, he doesn't have a cool hockey mustache like René Descartes, but Hobbes, interesting in his own regard. Hobbes lived during the English Civil War. He lived during a time period where he literally watched brother kill brother, countrymen kill countrymen. And his observations of what was going on around him really shaped his thinking. And where he landed with his thinking is that people are jerks. We're all awful. We're awful, awful people. Why would a brother kill another brother? Why would a countryman kill his own countryman? Because, Hobbes said, we are selfish. Now, how does this lay the groundwork for the future of psychology? Freud is going to kind of label this selfish drive that we have in our minds. Freud in the future, and we haven't learned about him yet, Freud is going to introduce the concept of the id and the ego and the superego. The id, the ego, and the superego. And we will see how selfishness, right, plays a role in those mental concepts that Freud evolves later down the line. Anyway, Hobbes goes on and writes a book, right? He actually tries to rewrite the Bible without a lot of the religious biblical stuff in it. And he calls this book Leviathan. What the heck is a Leviathan? Oh, there's Locke. We'll get to him in a second. Here on your screen, I believe, is a Leviathan. A Leviathan is a big sea monster. And we see that there is a boat trapped on the ocean in a storm. And this sea monster, oh boy, he looks nasty. What the heck is Hobbes getting at there with his book, The Leviathan? He actually is using this as an analogy. And I am struggling with my mouse here to try and get back to our camera to see the board, but there it is. Right? Hobbes writes this book called The Leviathan, and what he's really trying to imply is that we are selfish people. But that selfishness can lead to us behaving. We can be taught to behave if it's in our selfish self-interest. And that Leviathan, that idea of a Leviathan. So the book is The Leviathan. And Leviathan should be underlined because it's a book title. And this idea of the Leviathan is that this great sea monster God actually in the Bible refers to himself as the great Leviathan, and basically implies that as this great powerful being, the sea monster or a god or whatever you want to picture it, right? This great powerful being, if I am afraid that that great powerful being can end me, I will selfishly behave and do whatever that great powerful being wants. It's funny because when we first look at that picture of the Leviathan and the boat in the stormy seas, we think to ourselves, oh my God, the sea monster could just crush the boat. The boat is in great danger of this Leviathan, this sea monster. But we could also take an alternative viewpoint. The only way that boat is surviving that storm is with the help of the great Leviathan, the great sea monster. Okay, so this is a powerful being that has the ability to end me or help me. And I will selfishly, right, according to Hobbes, I would selfishly do whatever I need to and promise to do whatever if I could somehow convince this great powerful being to help me instead of to end me. Right? And that is the way selfishness can, in fact, in Hobbes's view of things, our own selfishness does, in fact, make us behave in that way. Moving on to our next and last couple of Enlightenment philosophers that sort of help drive modern psychology. Let me just get a little camera tilt down a little bit. Locke and Rousseau. Jean Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau, another great Frenchman. He probably had a great hockey mustache, too. I'm not going to bother looking that up. Locke always looked like the ghost from, I think we saw him earlier. He kind of looks like a ghost from like the Nightmare Before Christmas or something. But I can't help what these guys looked like. It was a long time ago. They didn't have showers, you know? I mean, what do you want from these people? Aside from the fact that they didn't look very kempt, they still had these unbelievable thought processes. Here's Locke and Rousseau. They both agreed that humans, and this is a topic we covered yesterday with the ancient Greeks, they both agreed that humans have free will. We have the ability to choose, sort of like that blank slate idea of the ancient Greeks. We have the ability to choose to behave how we want to. And Locke, particularly, and also Rousseau, both believed that we would choose, if given the choice, we are rational, smart people, and that we would choose to be rewarded. We would do things in a good nature in order to reap the rewards of that good-natured approach to things. Therefore, both of these guys believed in what they titled the social contract, this collective experience, that our life is nothing more than what we learn from it. And if we behave nicely and we seek rewards that are based on good behavior, then as a society, we will all have a collective experience that is very rewarding. And being smart, rational thinkers, why wouldn't we want that? Right? I mean, that's what we should be driven towards and interested in, is sort of a collective experience where everybody is rewarded and can enjoy the beauties of this life. So 3 different philosophers, Enlightenment philosophers, all of whom had a great impact on the early stages and development of psychology. Thanks for joining me today. That was good stuff. And remember, like my girl Aretha says, you better think. Think about what you're trying to do to me.